If you don't already know, I'm trying to build a guitar to learn about ergonomic design in guitar making and how that can be used to make better guitar designs. So this is just documenting the process. There's the staining process. I was using water-based dye, and then I sanded off the edges to give like a fake binding effect, a little bit of a road-worn effect. I don't know, I thought it looked cool. I stained my fingers in the process, and then that's just the initial coat of clear coat. I was using Rust-Oleum 2X clear coat. This is me drilling some pilot holes for the inlays on the neck, and then using a hand drill to drill the hole for it. And I was using pieces of acrylic plastic that I used to make the routing templates with, so it's not recycled, but repurposed. Rather than me throwing all of that plastic out, I just keep it and reuse it for guitar picks and inlays and stuff. I make a lot of guitar picks for fun out of acrylic as well, so I never really run out of guitar picks. If you go to any local school in your area, they most likely have some leftover acrylic plastic that they throw in the bin. A lot of it ends up in the bin, so it's better for me to try and make use of it than it end up in the bin. So it looks a bit dodgy, but it's just wood fibers in the grain lines there that get scraped out later on. Oh yeah, that middle inlay is made out of recycled acrylic, so I melted some different bits of acrylic together and it was purple and white. This is me sanding the neck profile on the neck. I had a cross section drawn up on the computer and I measured out where I need to put the lines on the neck. It's hard to explain, I'll just put an image up on the screen so you can see it. So I just sanded all the way up to both lines on the back and the side of the neck, creating like a trapezoidal shape that was symmetrical. It looks like a Strandberg, but it's not. And then I rounded that off into a C-shape profile, but it's very thick, about 1.2 inches thick, I think. So the neck is really heavy. There's quite a lot of neck dive if I don't have the guitar tilted up at a 45-degree angle because of how heavy the neck is, even with some really chunky carbon fiber rods installed. So this is me using epoxy finishing resin on the neck as a grain filler, and just something to add a little bit of extra protection from the humidity because I live in quite a humid area. And I'll also be spraying polyurethane clear coat on top of that as well once I've sanded that back. But it made it a lot easier when I scraped, like what I'm doing now with the card. I scraped the resin across the neck, so it made it much thinner and it pushed it into the crevices a little more. It did drip a lot onto the fretboard and it took a lot of work to clean up the fretboard, so I'll have to do better next time with that. I was just routing out the pickup route a little bit deeper here because I miscalculated that. I made a lot of errors in building this, so there was lots of going back and readjusting. So this is the nut I made out of acrylic plastic and rosewood. I have no idea if it's going to hold up or not. That's the neck with the polyurethane on top, and that's the acrylic backplate I made out of the recycled, reused stuff from the templates. And that's me cleaning out the pilot holes for the neck because it was full of PVA glue and resin. Then I sanded out the neck pocket a little more because it was quite tight. I didn't like the idea of it being too tight because I live in an area where it gets quite humid and then quite dry, depending on what time of the year it is. Yeah, and then the neck pocket fit really well. It wasn't too tight. Yeah, so that's kind of the angle I have to sit with it at for it to balance. I didn't bother sanding back the clear coat and buffing it. It was polyurethane, so I'd have to sand it back and then sand through all the grits and polish it, but I just couldn't be bothered. I'd rather just leave that extra bit of finish there and not bother with the imperfections in it. I'm not really looking to make it look perfect. And those strap buttons, I've made them flush with the timber, so I drilled a 10mm diameter hole about 2 mils deep that the strap button sits into. Yeah, if you're interested and have any questions in the build that I'm doing or any of the research that I'm doing, you can check out the other videos where I do a bit more explanation. I'll link them in the description, or you can just comment or message me on any of my social media stuff. Thanks.